I set up the Lest We Forget World War II Museum in the Music City Mall in Vista Ridge in order to be able to display the items that the men gave to me or sold to me and tell their stories. I keep the gate down so that people don't wander in and steal my items, but as and when people call me or see me and request tours, I happily open the gate and bring them in and give them personal tours depending on their interest, and show them and explain to them basically each item that I have in the museum. Some days no one calls, some days I give 4 or 5 tours. I began the museum by default out of necessity, I guess you could say, in the Valley View Mall. A friend of mine had an artist space there, so I saw that I could rent a space very inexpensively. I had a lot of boxes. I had all this stuff boxed up in my house and in a 3rd bedroom. I took the items to the mall and began to unpack them. It was like Christmas because I had many, many boxes and I hadn't opened it in a long time. So as I did it, I realized I could make all these complete uniforms because boots and tunics from here, there, and in whichever box went together. I started to cobble together these uniforms on mannequins, and before I knew it, I had a small army. My collection is rather large as far as uniforms go. I have 75 mannequins in here, fully dressed, and I have uniforms for probably another 50 or 60 at least. I have many helmets and accoutrements, etc. Some things that I don't like to display because I don't want them stolen. I have a lot of stuff that I got from the veterans. All my life, I sought out the veterans. The men had a specific demeanor about them, and obviously from an age group. So when I would go to their house to listen to their stories, to understand the history, to understand why my father had such a hard time with the war, I began to collect their items. Some of them are very, very rare and very significant. My interest in World War II began as a very small child because of my father. He was the first draft pick out of Fort Worth in 1940 in the Texas 36th Infantry Division. This is what he looked like before they sent him to Africa. They called him Happy Jack. He was 6'4" and 240. He was a tech sergeant, 3 up and 2 down, when he hit the beach at Salerno, a squad leader, a Tommy gunner. This is my father after 9 months of combat. These pictures are approximately a year and a half apart. You can see what the war has done to my father. It does it to all the men. I have spoken to so many veterans, American and German, to try and understand how we could fight each other the way we did, to ask the Germans why they did what they did. One fellow, Kurt Finke, who gave me his shoulder boards that he wore throughout the war. He told me that after a couple of weeks of fighting in Russia, once it started to get hard, one of the men in his outfit mentioned to the other guys, they were enlisted men, "This is crazy. Napoleon couldn't beat Russia. Why does Hitler think that he can beat Russia?" One of the men in the outfit thinked him out to the officers. The officers pulled him out of the group, court-martialed him that night, made the entire company come to attention at 5 a.m. in the morning. They stood that man up against a tree and shot him for undermining the fighting morale of the soldiers. Kurt Finke told me at that point it was better to take your chances fighting the Russians than it was to go against the Nazi officers. As in any war, you don't get to pick your battles. These men were drafted. If you didn't know that the man was a German, you couldn't tell. He looks just like us, acts just like us. I never met a German soldier that wasn't a good man. Good to me anyway. What I have realized after interviewing 150, 200 people, American and German, what I now realize as a 57-year-old man, if these men were born 20 years later, they would have drank beer with each other. They would have drank coffee. They would have played ball. They would have hunted or fished. They fought each other because they were ordered to fight each other. If that guy's shooting at you, you're going to shoot back. There's many people that come by that don't know much about the war at all. I give them tours and tell them the men's names. Most of these men, their uniforms I got from them. I know their stories. I hope that my efforts will help keep alive the memories of these men. If we don't think about them, if we don't talk about them, their sacrifices are in vain.